Hey everyone, how's it going? Today we're going to go ahead and continue with what we were learning last time, and that was Blazor WebAssembly, right? Today we're actually going to go ahead and grab data from an API and just display it onto our web pages. So for the API, you guys can use whatever you want. The API that I'm using is just one I made for an older project. Here's how it looks. All right. So now the way that you guys are going to want to build this API is that you're going to want to have some JSON ready, and I'm going to explain that to you guys right now. So first thing you're going to want to do is just copy over all your JSON data, okay? And just head on over to your search engine, so Google or Firefox, and just go C# to JSON. All right, once you get onto C# to JSON, find this link that says JSON to C#.com. And what you're going to want to do is go ahead and paste that and click convert. And what this is going to do is go ahead and generate a class for you that you guys can copy and paste. If you guys don't want to copy and paste this data, what you guys can also do is simply figure out what data type each of these values are. So like my barcode is a string, my price is like a double, the quantity is just an integer, right? So what you guys are going to want to do is just make a class with your name, or a public, data type, and then the name. And make sure there's a get and set So what that'll do is grab the JSON and then set that value. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and just copy this value. And what I'm going to want to do now is just go ahead and just create a brand new class. So this class is going to be outside all of our terminals. Okay, and wait, let me actually just cd into this. Cd user. Okay. Let's just go ahead and just make a brand new terminal. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so what I'm going to just want to do is go ahead and just create a brand new class, and I'm going to call this class the inventory model.cs. Okay, now I can see it's right over here. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and just paste my class. And make sure the name of your class is the same as the name of the file. All right, that'll just be inventory model.cs. Okay, inventory model. There we go. Okay, so now that that's done, the next thing we're going to want to go ahead and do is just set up our Blazor WebAssembly so that it can get some API requests and understand that JSON and transfer it over into our inventory model. So let's just jump right into it. All right, so the Razor page that we're going to be modifying is going to be the index.razor. This is just because it has the least amount of code. If you guys want, you guys can just make a brand new Razor page from scratch. If you're going to do that, just go ahead and just switch the route. All right. So the first thing we're going to want to do is just go ahead and just create a very basic, how do I say this too? A very basic table where the data can be displayed upon, right? So to do that, let's go ahead and just make a table class, right? So what we're going to do is just write table, and I'm going to do class is equal to table. This will call upon the Bootstrap table that's there in Bootstrap, right? Because Blazor automatically has Bootstrap for you. The next thing you're going to want to do is just make a head for our table. That's just called thead. All right, so these are all components that will come pre-installed. All right. The next thing we're going to have is our table. What's it called? The header of the header values of our table. So to do that, make a tr tag. There we go. Okay, now once you're done with the tr tag, you're also going to want to have a th tag, right? So th tag is just going to be every single specific title. So the titles that we're going to have is, what are we going to have actually? So we're going to first of all have our item. So I guess we can consider this the name of our item. Okay, then the next one we're going to have is our, let's just include in the barcode. Okay. The next one we're going to want to go ahead and include is our, let's go ahead and include the price. All right, and the idea is that these are very similar to your JSON headers that you have, or the JSON key, the key of the JSON. All right, and then let's see, we have our price. All right, wait, no, we already have our price. What's it called? Quantity. And then we have our status, and of course this will vary depending on what kind of API you're using specifically, but more or less it should be following the same way that I'm doing it so far. All right, now the next thing we're going to want to do is just go ahead and outside of our t head, we're going to have our t body, And inside of our T body is where our dynamic JSON data will be occurring. All right. So in order to actually grab our JSON data, what you're going to want to do is create this thing called an API request. Now, what an API request does is it goes into the web to a specific link you've given, extracts that JSON, all right? It'll extract over that JSON, and then what it's going to do is it's going to grab it into our class that we gave, and it's just simply going to give it back, all right? Let me give you guys a much easier, or let me just give you guys the actual demonstration as to how to do this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is just go ahead and create a code tag. To do this, just write @code and put in some curly braces. Now you can actually inject C# into your code. The first thing we're going to want to do is just add in a bunch of these dependencies, okay? The dependencies we're going to be using are, first of all, just the system. Are you going to be using the system.net.http? And what we're going to be using is just simply system.text. System.text. I'm just going to go ahead and just, and then you're also going to be using system.web and a system.net.http.json. All right, so these are the 4 that we're going to be needing right now. If we do need more, then I'm just going to show it to you guys afterwards. All right, so first thing we're going to want to do is just go ahead and create initial function that's going to run at the start of our code. So that's also called an uninitialized function. All right. So to do this, just go ahead and write protected override async task. So when it says task, that means it's going to be working on privately on its own. On initialized async. Okay. Now that that's done, on initialized async. So as you can see over here, it's lacking that await method. And the reason why we want our async is because what we're going to do is we're going to be making a request. And we want that to happen on a separate thread aside from the actual app itself. Otherwise, the app is going to be very slow. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is just go ahead and create a client, right? The client is the one that's going to be actually attacking, or is going to be requesting our web server. So we're going to be using var client, which is just going to be equal to a brand new HTTP client. And this HTTP client we've already called upon. Okay, the next thing we're going to want to do is go ahead, and what's the next thing we're going to want to do? Oh yeah, then we just have to call upon our API. So to do this, create a brand new variable called result. The main reason why we're using the result variable, or we're using the var data type, is because we're not entirely sure what sort of data we're getting. Sometimes we get error messages, sometimes we just get the raw JSON. So it's better to just use a dynamic variable like var, or even just use the dynamic variable dynamic itself. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is just go ahead and go await client.get async. All right, and what we're going to do is just let me just add semicolon. What you're going to want to do is just go ahead and find that web server that I showed you guys. So you guys are going to have a different API, obviously, right? I'm just going to go ahead and copy this, put this back in. Okay. Where is it? Paste that over there. Okay. So now we've went ahead and actually just called upon our API. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to want to do is actually just parse this JSON, right? Because right now, we haven't really done much. We've just gotten our data, but the computer doesn't know what to do with it. So to do this, we're going to go ahead and just create a JArray. Okay. And this is also known as like a JSON array data. All right. And just set that equal to JArray.parse the overall result. Okay. Why is there JArray doesn't exist? Oh, right, sorry. It appears that I forgot to add one more, one more JSON package, and that's actually the new soft JSON package. So to do this, just go over here and write using newtonsoft.json.link, and using the newtonsoft.json like that. Okay, now as you guys can see, it's already it's unable to actually find this. Okay, this is because I don't have it installed on my page. So in order to fix this, just head on over to command palette. Okay, and if you guys don't have that, you guys would have to use NuGet Package Manager. Okay, so just click Add Package and just write Newtonsoft. new insoft. What? Okay, well, let's just go ahead and just paste these. So I'm going to copy this, go to command palette, add package, paste the package. There we go. We got it in here, and I'm just going to go to wildcard. All right. Now, in the case that you don't have that installed, you guys are going to have to do something different. So see over here how, wait, let me just paste that in there. So see over here in Blazor package, all of this data has been added over here. So what you're going to want to do is just go ahead and copy over into your CS proj the package reference of newtonsoft.json. All right. Now that should work. Okay. Now, oh yeah, and we also need to go ahead and just do the same for newtonsoft.json.link. Okay, so let's go ahead and just do that. Okay, there we go. We've now written these two. So now these two, resolve, restore, wait. Okay, yeah, that should work. Now let's go ahead and just continue on with the video. All right, so, okay, oh, there's another error here. Oh yeah, sorry. When we say get async, we also need the string. So get string async. All right. So the reason why we're doing this is because even though we get JSON or even like an error message, we treat everything as a string. This way, when we get that JSON value, we can just parse it, the string values, a lot easier. Or we don't even have to do that. It's just the JArray that'll do that for us. Anyway, moving on. The next thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and create a public variable outside of our function. So what's a public variable? If you guys don't know C# or any statically typed languages, if you're coming from Python like me, a public variable can really just be accessed anywhere. So over here, what I'm going to do is just go ahead and just create a public list, okay? And that public list is going to go ahead and include our login model, no, not our login model, where is it? Our inventory model, okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and just paste that. Okay, I'm just going to call it inventory data. And just set that as a new variable, right? Because that hasn't been called upon like ever at all. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and just create, just make a for each loop. And that for each loop is just going to go ahead and loop through every single set of data, of JSON data, right? And what it's going to do is it's just going to have a dynamic object, inside of our data, all right? And the next thing we're going to do is just go ahead and go into inventory data, and I'm going to go ahead and just add new data or new inventory model. Okay, and what we're going to do over here is we're going to take these values over here. So we have barcode, item, price, quantity, and object, and we're going to set those values equal to the JSON equivalents. So for example, barcode will be equal to the objects.barcode. Okay, and this is the main reason why I told you guys to keep the names same as the key values in your JSON, is because it just makes it a lot easier. I'm going to go ahead and just repeat this for item, price, quantity, and status. All right, and fast forward 50 seconds. As you can see, I've just filled up these values. I just realized I have a small indentation error. So let's just go ahead and fix that. Okay, so now that this is done, the next thing we're going to do, because we now have all of our data, all right, the next thing we're going to want to do is just constantly refresh this. So to do this, we're just going to write state has changed, right? So when you write state has changed, that means that the page should reload, all right? And it's not going to reload like a refresh. It's going to reload internally, making it a lot smoother, and you won't even notice anything actually. Also, if you're some eagle-eyed or can perceive time very slowly. Okay, so inside of our t-body, I'm going to go ahead and make another for each loop. So inside of our for each loop, I'm going to take a variable of the current inventory at hand, current inventory, okay, inside of our inventory data, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and just make another tr, all right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start inserting the data, okay? So first thing we're going to want to do is just include the name. So we're going to go at current inventory dot what is it? Item. All right, and the main reason why we're using the at word is because we're trying to understand the context as to what current inventory is, so it looks before it. So at current inventory dot barcode td at current inventory dot price, and let's just fast forward this a bit more as well. And yeah, boom, now we have all of this there. Okay, so now let's just go ahead and run this app. So to do this, just write .NET run. What? Oh, cd Blazor tutorials. There we go. Now we just go .NET run. Okay, so now the project's going ahead and building. All right, so that was actually surprisingly quick. So what you're going to want to do now is just head on over to that localhost. Okay. And as you can see, we got all this nice data. It's all displayed on this table. Now I'm going to go ahead and just show you guys the JSON values. So like we have our Dell XPS 15-inch, and we have it right over, where is it? Over here. So yeah, we've now successfully taken data from an API, so whatever backend you use, like Python, PHP, MySQL, or not MySQL, Go, Java, okay? We took that data and we went ahead and communicated it with our front end. All right, so that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day.